Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Season 2, Episode 9 plus 10, 21 of the Ball Talk Boyos podcast. Woo! That's going to be fun to clean up. Welcome back. We're back with another episode of Jobo and Toto's Adventures. Jobo, how was your Christmas and New Year's experience?
You know, anytime that I get to get out of the godforsaken state that is Indiana is a great time. So being able to go spend time with family, see friends, go run with a lot of people I hadn't seen in a long time, go to Florida for a little vacation. I mean, can't beat it. Can't complain whatsoever. It was a great time. How was your Christmas, New Year's break, Topher?
I was sick and I hung out with you, so I'll take any opportunity to do that whenever I get, the shot to do that. Jobo and Toto.
Yep.
Yeah, we did great. We watched some football, some college football. It was much more college. We were together on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. Watched a lot more college football. Obviously had our usual NFL conversations that normally will come up. What do you feel like was your favorite sports memory from 2024?
Ooh. Favorite sports memory from 2024? Wow. That's actually a really good question. I think... my favorite sports memory from 2024. It's going down to Terre Haute, Indiana to watch the Carthage College Firebirds men's cross-country team run at Nationals. And if you're not someone who we actually know in real life, you have no idea what we're talking about, but that's probably my favorite sports moments. But if we're going to go with something outside of that, I think it's just getting the opportunity to watch my glorious king play another year of basketball in the NBA. LeBron James, seeing him still dominating the game, seeing him in the Olympic finals. There we go. That game.
Yep, Olympics.
That was a fantastic game.
Together for that game.
Yeah, exactly. Curry was hitting some big-time shots. LeBron,
that was a good game.
Outside of that weird AI thing that happened where he got dunked on, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
Which is crazy. That AI
I haven't seen any... thank goodness they cleaned that up, because I haven't seen the video recently. So
yeah, neither have I.
It's good the black SUVs showed up to whoever created that, and it got taken care of. Outside of the ones you listed, I think my personal favorite sports memory from this year was the Saquon Barkley reverse hurdle. Like I think about that just about on a daily basis, and how I honestly feel like that was the one of the craziest things I feel like I've ever seen, and it does not. That and the Yankees losing the World Series. That'll always make me happy.
I like that as well. I like that as well.
I had a long conversation. At work yesterday, I had a long conversation with someone. Not long, but they were telling me about he's a Yankee fan, and he was telling me about his experience when he went to Fenway Park for the first time, and he was talking about on the way to the game, it was back in 2005, so it was like at the peak of the rivalry between the Red Sox and Yankees, and he was talking about how him and his friends that were going, they stopped at every bar on the way and had a drink. So by the time he got there, he was like, he wasn't really there. And he said by like the third inning, he was sitting in the bleachers. So it was like, and you were told, like, if you're sitting in the bleachers, do not wear opposing team at the time. Do not wear opposing team like merchandise. And he said by like the third think he was like being put in a headlock by like a 50-year-old woman or something like that. And I think he said he made it to like the sixth inning before he finally got kicked out. But that was pretty fun and interesting to hear him tell the story. What do you feel like you're looking forward to most in 2025 in sports?
Well, I think you can say what you want about the fact that it's just something that's going on right now. But everyone who knows me knows that, again, outside of the Carthage stuff, my favorite team to root for on the planet and favorite sport is Ohio State college football.
Wait, what?
And, yeah, I know, shocker. And tonight, what is it, January 10th? Friday, January 10th, they have a chance to play a game that, if they win, will send them to the national title and also eliminate the SEC from title contention. So I think just being able to see Ohio State, not only they could win the national championship here, which I think would be very good, very very much needed W for Joey here. So I'm hoping, I'm praying. I'm not getting my hopes up because, well, let's be real. I'm not the what Derrick say? All the bad luck in my life.
Oh yeah,
something
comes
like
out
that.
in, yeah.
So one of our friends, for a little backstory here, he gets really upset about fantasy football. And last year when we were both living with him, he said that, and it's like a direct quote, all the bad luck, I've had a really easy life. All the bad luck in my life shows up in fantasy football.
In fantasy football, yep.
I mean, his team wasn't the best either.
Like word
but,
for
I mean,
word,
all the
what
bad
he
luck.
said.
Like, that's word for word. So, bad luck, something like that. Ohio State might not win, but hey, man, any chance that Ohio State can legitimately make the college football championship, win the national championship, and be like, and they've actually looked good at football. Like, I don't remember the last time they looked good at football. Like, everyone says they're good at football, but for the past at least 3 years, they have not looked good at football for a single second ever. So the past 2 games, the fact that they've like looked like the best team in the nation, I'm actually like, oh crap, Ohio State might do something here. But at the end of the day, it's Ohio State, and I don't want to get my hopes up too high and then ultimately get let down. But hey, man, if Ohio State wins, I'm going out to my apartment complex here. Everything's covered in snow. It's cold as heck out here. And I'm throwing something on the community grills they have outside by the pool that doesn't have water in it.
When is the national championship game?
20th?
The 20th?
Something like that.
Interesting. Maybe
I think it's the Monday the 20th. Yeah.
Maybe we have to make plans to try and watch that together.
Yeah.
Depending on what you're doing. I don't know if you're coming back home to watch it, but we might have to figure out. We'll talk about that off air. But I was thinking about we could start with college football since we're on the topic. And I had a few takes yesterday when I was talking to some of the other guys we've had on. And I think this is recorded Friday, January 10th, after Notre Dame, Penn State yesterday. And before that game, and still now, I feel like the 4 teams left are 4 of the top 5 teams in college football. Like the rank, like the seeding won't show that because of the way it's currently structured. But I think it's 4 of the top 5 teams minus Oregon. I don't know how you feel about that.
I agree completely with that.
I didn't buy into Georgia. And I'll say this about my take about Boise State winning it all. Let's make this perfectly clear. Joey, when it comes to my sports predictions, what part of my body do you feel like I use when making those guesses? It is all heart. There is no brain used whatsoever when I'm making. So these allegations about, a Chrissy curse or whatever's going on, no, not a thing. Because if I'd sat here and gave who I actually predicted, the same thing with the Super Bowl. We'll get into that, and I'll say who I predicted, and I said it on Twitter. But it's all heart, no head. But relating a little more to the game today, between Ohio State and Texas, I will root for Ohio State unless Arch Manning comes into the game. Then I'm all in on Texas, and I feel like you can understand that. I feel like that would be accepted.
I understand it. I mean, Ohio State's one of the most hated college football teams, programs out there. Yeah. So I'm not used to people who aren't legitimate Ohio State fans rooting for Ohio State. I don't hear, like, everyone's always rooting against Ohio State. And I mean, for example, when Michigan beat Ohio State the past few years, and when I was in college with y'all, apparently everyone was a Michigan fan then. All of a sudden,
that stuff was kind of crazy.
Like, it was crazy, but
you get people
coming. My mom's best friend's dog's new owner had a sibling who went to Michigan or lived in the state of Michigan. Like, it was crazy. But where was I going with this? Oh, yeah. I mean, with the Arch Manning thing, like Arch Manning is a guy I am looking forward to watching play football. Hopefully, I don't look forward to watching him play football tonight because I think he's better than Quinn Ewers. And plus, I mean, the game tonight is in Texas. I mean, as much as it's just a neutral site bowl game, it's pretty much a home game for Texas here.
Yeah.
So
we'll see how Ohio State travels, and I feel like they travel pretty well.
Oh, Ohio State travels like one of the best,
especially for this.
Country. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, the way they've looked to the past few weeks. I mean, Ohio State has a huge alumni base. There's plenty in Texas, so I mean, it'll be okay. But like, I mean, I'm a little nervous, man. And if Arch Manning comes in, like you're talking about, might be a little bit more nervous. But if Arch Manning comes in, then that means Ohio State has to have been doing something right. It has to be in a position to win the game because they're not going to bring Arch Manning in if Quinn Ewers is playing amazing.
Unless he gets hurt, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And then do you feel good about the possible matchup between Ohio State and Notre Dame? Or
yeah, absolutely. I mean, Oregon was the one I was the most concerned about for sure, just because they had beat us already. And then honestly, after that, I was most concerned about Penn State because Penn State's D-line is really good, and Ohio State's had a lot of injuries on their offensive line. I mean, the guy who won the award for the best center in the country has not played at all in the playoffs because he's out for the season.
Is he going to play? No, so he's done.
No, he's done. So that's just an example. Like, it's that D-line struck fear into me for sure. And plus, we already beat Penn State this year. And as we know, it's very hard to beat the same football team 2 times in 1 year. So, yeah, I mean, I think that Texas, this game wouldn't worry me as much if it was in Georgia, but it's in Texas. Sure. I mean, in Notre Dame, their offense is not good, like, at all.
A lot of running.
Like, Riley Leonard can't throw the football. And I just see that being a huge issue for them. Plus, we have one of the best defensive lines in the nation as well. So I think Notre Dame doesn't strike fear into me, really. I could be biting my words in a week and a half, but as of right now, I see the flaws in their game that Ohio State will be able to exploit well.
Yeah, and Notre Dame, Ohio State, they played last year and had kind of the dust up between Ryan Day and whoever, right?
Oh, Ryan Day and Lou Holtz. Yeah, Lou Holtz was talking trash.
They got a little... both teams, obviously, like whoever... I think Ohio State winds up whooping Texas tonight. Like, I think the line I saw was at, like, -6, and if I was eligible to sports bet, like, I'd probably crush that. But obviously I'm not allowed to. They I feel like they crushed tonight, and then next game's like a good game. But we'll see. Also related to Arch Manning, and this can be our segue into the NFL draft, some more recent ones, and then the playoffs. Wherever Arch Manning gets drafted, I will become the biggest fan of that team. Like, I will live and die on every snap of that team from the moment Arch Manning first steps on an NFL field till he leaves it. Because what?
So you're just Craig now.
No, but my loyalty to the Manning family surpasses my loyalty to anybody else.
Yeah, you were a big Peyton Manning fan. That's for sure. So,
that can't be denied. Like, I didn't know, like, you at any point when, like, Peyton Manning was still playing. But I mean, that 2013 Super Bowl where they lost to the Seahawks, I was bawling my eyes out the entire game because they just kept getting crushed the entire game. So,
trust me, I know you're a big fan of Peyton Manning. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, no, like, I get it.
What are you trying to say, dude?
Because we're a Broncos fan because of Peyton Manning.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that.
I don't know what else I could be trying to say there.
All right, I will forget this.
I was. Oh.
We will not be explaining why we were laughing. But yeah, I got my Broncos Peyton Manning jersey right over there. So maybe I'll have to pull that out for my race tomorrow. Maybe I wear this too small Peyton Manning Broncos jersey. But yeah, I will live and die by the Manning family and Arch during his NFL career. But this upcoming NFL draft, this April, Titans have the number 1 pick. What do you feel like they wind up doing with it? Because I don't really know.
From what I've seen, they're pretty high in Cam Ward.
Yeah, I think obviously reading between the lines of their recent, but I think their head coach probably agrees with the owner on what the owner wants to do, and the GM didn't want to do that, and that's why the GM is no longer the GM for the Tennessee Titans. It probably means that they're drafting a quarterback. I'm not sure if it's Cam Ward or Shedeur or how things change throughout the draft process, but yeah, I like the Will Levis experiment's over, right?
We haven't seen enough out of Will Levis. Granted, the Titans have a horrible group of weapons, but there hasn't been enough out of Will Levis to think I want to give that man a third year of I want him to be a starting quarterback next year. I mean, I don't think he's been bad. It's kind of weird, I think, with him because I don't know if he's been bad enough where I want to invest a very high pick in a very weak
supplementary
draft
piece.
Class.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to invest I don't know if I invest the first overall pick in a quarterback who shouldn't be going first overall because it's a weak quarterback class. But I also don't think I want to just sit there and ride out Will Levis for another year. So that's why I think I think the best, if I was Titans, I'd bring in Jameis Winston. I legitimately, because at least he would make things interesting. At least he'd make things fun.
He's kind of we talked about it literally, an hour ago? He's kind of the perfect bridge quarterback, I feel like, for this offseason.
Absolutely. I mean, he has his flaws without a doubt.
Absolutely.
But he at least makes football fun. If you're a team that's not competing and you want the fans to be engaged and interested, I'm grabbing Jameis Winston, throwing him out on that field because I know my fans are going to care. I know people are going to rally around him. I know the offense is going to put up numbers most weeks. I don't see an issue with him. Plus, he would definitely, I think you said, love that mentorship role.
He would embrace that. The mentor. And, looking at the list of, there's some other options that will provide that. Jacoby Brissett probably provides the same thing. Maybe not to the extent of, the performance on the field. We obviously feel very strongly about Jameis Winston, his place in the NFL. But, Marcus Mariota,
Drew Lock,
yeah. But
Drew Lock, Jameis. Someone trades for Joe Milton.
Options, but
trading for Joe Milton.
We'll get into it because as we go down the list, and in light of recent news that has come out today, the NFL draft got a lot more interesting today. But you do feel like the Titans go QB?
I think they do, for sure. I think you don't fire a GM over, and not the coach, over, some small disagreement. And,
no.
The disagreement between drafting Travis Hunter and Will Campbell, for example, offensive tackle, wide receiver, you're not getting as heated as, invested in that.
You're not going to fire somebody over that.
Quarterback's where you're going to fire someone over, for sure. That's what you live and die by as your quarterback. So I think the coach probably is yeah, I don't have. And if I had Will Levis here another year, I'm done. I'm screwed. So going for quarterback, I think is going to be the move.
And then 2-3 is kind of where it starts to get interesting because obviously at the number 2 pick, we have the Cleveland Browns. And then at the number 3 pick, we have the New York Giants. Now, earlier today, I'm sure you've seen the news, but Deshaun Watson retore his Achilles, had surgery yesterday, and it is more likely than not that he misses all of 2025 at this point, because now he will have had 2 Achilles surgeries in 3 months. But previously, I did not think they were going to draft a quarterback. I don't know how you felt about it, but there was too much dead money left on Deshaun's contract to not let him play. But I now think they're going to use the number 2 overall pick to draft somebody and cut Deshaun Watson.
It's a weird situation, I think, because I personally do not think Cam Ward should be anywhere near a top 10 pick in most drafts.
No,
Cam
but
Ward,
he has to be. Like, there's just no other quarterback. Him and Shedeur. I don't know enough about Cam Ward, but I don't believe in Shedeur. Like,
I believe in Shedeur more than Cam Ward, but I don't
know.
I don't believe in Shedeur as much either. I don't believe in him that much either. Plus, let's lay this out for you, right? Cam Ward goes at 1 to the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Deion's letting Shedeur go to Cleveland. I don't think.
Why do you feel like that? Stefanski's a good head coach. They've got like solid people around in terms of like the rest of the pieces, but
I mean, it's an okay situation, but I think Cleveland's not like. I mean, you with a guy like Shedeur Sanders, like I mean, obviously remember the Eli Manning stuff where he didn't want to go. They wanted him to go to San Diego because not a big enough market and stuff like that. I feel like Cleveland's gonna be a similar way. I don't know if Shedeur is gonna want to go to Cleveland, Ohio. I just think that there's clearly been some issues, some disagreements between people in the organization with stuff. Like there's a high enough level of dysfunction that it makes it not like an ideal spot for Shedeur maybe, and also on top of that, it's not an attractive enough city or a storied enough franchise to be able to overlook some of that stuff.
I understand that. I just feel like they have to draft somebody now, or unless the path they decide is, because there are 3 quarterbacks this offseason, other quarterbacks that are set to be free agents that maybe 4 that deserve another look. I think that probably haven't, that deserve to get another opportunity. So do you think their path winds up being more, I'll list them in a second, but sign one of these guys and then draft somebody later?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they wait another year to draft a quarterback and they sign like a bridge type of guy.
I'm still saying, but you draft somebody this year in like the 4th or 5th round just to see.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm
not talking about drafting somebody second, and then I'll list the quarterbacks that I think could get another look. I think Zach Wilson could get another look at starting. I think Trey Lance could get another look at starting. I think Justin Fields could get another look at starting. And I think Mac Jones could get another look at starting. Like, crazy as it sounds, but like those are 4 that could, like, that I feel like fall more into the category of we sign this guy, draft somebody late, and then draft somebody next year too. Because if you're bad again, you take somebody high. Are you having trouble hearing me right now?
Yeah, sorry, you cut out there for a second. My AirPods are a little bit on the fritz, but you cut out after the Mac Jones thing. What did you say after Mac Jones?
But like you sign one of those guys, draft a guy late this year. If they stink, you're bad enough to the point where you can draft somebody high next year, hoping the quarterback class is better. Or they're good, and maybe you keep rolling with them. Like, I feel like that winds up being more the path for, I mean, we've got, 2 quarterbacks that'll probably go hot in Shedeur and Cam Ward, which leaves the Giants, 2 of the Giants, Browns, and Raiders and maybe even Jets looking for a quarterback.
I think that next year is going to be the year where we see an uptick in like some of these guys who, like we talked about like the death of like the middle class quarterbacks, like the Andy Daltons,
Sure.
who should be like maybe should be starting in the league, but because people are starting their young guys earlier and taking more flyers on these young guys, the quarterback play in the league has gone down, and there's not as many like veteran guys who like good enough game managers like having starting jobs in the NFL. I think that this is the year that we see the trend kind of go back to that a little bit more because of guys. There's so many situations where teams are going to need quarterbacks, and I think that...
See, I still don't... I don't know if it's because of the lack of the... If it's the lack of the upper tier talent, but like I don't... Like, teams have decisions to make, I think is probably... If all of those teams pass on their incumbent quarterbacks, then yes, then a lot of... But if... Let's see. If the Jets decide to hold on to Rodgers, that's a team that now doesn't need a quarterback. If the Saints decide to hold on to Carr, that's a team that doesn't need a quarterback. If the Colts decide to hold on to Anthony Richardson, that's a team that Seattle Seahawks, if they decide they're like, there are teams that fall in the could go one way or the other. But like, I mean, now I think there is, as of right now, off all the news that we have, I think there are 4 teams, and that's it. And it's the 4 that we've talked about.
I just don't. I think that you're right. There's a lot of situations that could, in a theory, an average year, go either way. I just think it's not a good enough year for quarterbacks in the draft that a lot of these teams decide to like mortgage their future for some young guy. Teams are going to be going back to the Zach Wilson. I mean, if Trey Lance is a starting quarterback day one in the NFL next year, that's not because that's just that'd be absurd, absolutely absurd.
I told Connor this a couple of days ago, but I was like, Joe Milton was better than Trey Lance in their Week 18 games, and he was like, no, he wasn't, or like something like that. He was like,
yes, he was.
The Bills wanted the Patriots, or something silly like that. Love you, Connor, you know that, but don't play with me. But I'm all in on Joe Milton. Could be maybe the Raiders are like, and Tom Brady, TB12. He's like, let's go get Joe Milton. Like, we're not going to be able to draft one of these guys. They were the team. I thought they were going to trade up to 2 and take Shadur. But now I think the Browns wind up having to do something at quarterback. But yeah, we'll see. Right now, when I'm looking at the list of teams, I have a hot take that I need to get off my chest because I've been holding it in for this exact platform. Hot take right here on episode 9+10 of the Ball Talk Boyos podcast. The Carolina Panthers will make the playoffs in the 2025 NFL season.
Yeah, that's not ridiculous at all.
I fully believe in Bryce Young. I think that's a team that's learning how to win. I like Dave Canales. And I think they properly support him this offseason because now they've identified that's our guy. Let's go win some freaking games if you're picking up what I'm putting down.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Bryce Young looked fantastic towards the end of the year there.
Oh, he was great.
And, I mean, I've been high on Bryce Young for the past year and a half. Not because I was high on Bryce Young before that, but solely because of a trade I made where I got him in Dynasty. But that trade is not looking too shabby right now. It's not looking. It's not looking that bad.
It's still not very good, but it is. Well, might not matter here in a couple of weeks whether that trade was any good.
Yeah, I built such a good team there. I mean, it's not going to cease to exist, but yeah.
We don't have to talk anymore on air about that right now. But looking ahead, tomorrow, 3:30. Let me pull up the full schedule. NFL Wild, and then we can talk a little bit about Wild Card Weekend. Let's load. 1 sec. Why couldn't it give me in a better? But tomorrow at 3:30, 3:30 Central Time, 4:30 WAC time, for everyone's favorite wild card tradition, the Texans play at 3:30 Eastern on Saturday of Wild Card Weekend. Did you see that thing that they like every time they've made the wild card, like ever, they've played at 3:30 Eastern or 3:30 Central
Really?
Time? Yeah, like they only play at that time when it comes because they're just like, but they played the Chargers. What are your thoughts for that game?
I mean, the Texans have not lived up to the hype this year whatsoever. I think the Texans have been definitely not nearly as good as we thought, and the Chargers have been significantly better than we thought.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a game that could go honestly either way. Like if the Texans won, I would not bat an eye. If the Chargers won, I would not bat an eye. I think the Texans are going to win, but it's a gonna be a good game.
I actually wind up on the complete opposite end of things. I think the Texans stink, and I think the Chargers are going to win, like potentially handily, because the Texans' offense is just so meh. Like I just get like they try and force feed Joe Mixon, and they like there's no surprise. Like when I'm watching it, it's like, all right, 3rd and 2, we're gonna run the ball. Like I just every time I've watched one of their games, like they're so meh. And am I still here? Uh-oh.
You're
Took me
here.
a sec to load back. We both froze. But I picked CJ Stroud to be MVP this year, and I thought they were going to make the Super Bowl, but he's regressed. Hey, heart not head. Heart not head. But he's regressed to an extent, to the point where, yeah, I don't believe in the Texans this year. I saw since Bryce Young came back from being benched, he's been better than CJ Stroud, which is kind of crazy. Because wasn't correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't the entire, like one of the big things that came out pre-draft about CJ Stroud, how do I say this, might not be the brightest bulb in the bunch. Didn't he not test very well on one of the quote-unquote predictive quarterback tests? Like
Yeah,
he tested like
horribly.
historically low,
like historically bad. Yes.
And I'm not saying that we could be seeing like the beginning effects of that, but like we could be seeing the beginning effects of that. But what are you saying? Where he's just not progressing, and he's turned the ball, like he's just turned the ball over more, and he's not being as impactful as he was last year. He was the rookie of the year last year.
Well, to be fair, the test thing, I think that was, people talked about how that was kind of because he didn't want to go to the Panthers, so
maybe
like
but
tanked it a little bit. But
who knows
like,
what
I see what you're saying.
Was, but like, and I'm just reading between the lines. I obviously still believe in CJ Stroud. Like I enjoy watching. Like I love Nico Collins. That's no shocker if you've heard me talk at all. But yeah, I don't believe in the Texans this year. So
that's fair.
At 8 Eastern on Amazon Prime, Steelers Ravens. What are your thoughts for that game?
Ravens cook the Steelers. The Ravens are gonna.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think slaughter the Steelers. The Steelers are not nearly as good as their record.
They're dead in the water.
indicates.
Yeah, they struggled so much down the stretch.
It's just the typical Steelers thing where they're like a 500 level team. They sneak into the playoffs and don't do jack squat. I think I just don't think. I think that Lamar Jackson, with the year he's had, is gonna continue. I think I think this could be the year the Ravens win it all. Honestly,
Sure.
but we can get into that at a later time. But I think that Lamar Jackson is a good enough quarterback, and the Ravens are good enough on offense. I think that there's no. I don't see it. I don't see a situation in which the Ravens do not win this game. I think it's just going to be a question of how big of a margin of victory do the Ravens have in this game, not if the Ravens are going to win the game.
Yeah, I agree that I think the Ravens are. Sorry, I'm trying to turn the volume up on my earbuds. I do think the Ravens are going to win. Hypothetically, let's head down a different path. Let's say Steelers win. Harbaugh, like watching the game, you're just like, Tomlin is flat out coaching John. Which Harbaugh do they have?
John Harbaugh.
I get them mixed up every single time. But John is flat out coaching John Harbaugh. Do you see a scenario where the Ravens decide to move on from John Harbaugh after another disappointing playoff in which they flat out get out-coached? Because I think there is.
I guess I could see it. I don't know. I honestly don't know if that's gonna happen. I think that I can see a scenario in which it does happen. I just
I think if they get I think if they get bounced and it's like they just look underprepared and like flat out just got outplayed in every aspect of the game, and it feels like it's on the coaches. I don't know. I think we're getting to that point with maybe not Tomlin, because he's a little different of a situation where they're just always have a winning record. But you got the quarterback that like is supposed. You've had a 3-time MVP and you haven't. You've been to the AFC Championship. I think they've been once.
Yeah,
this is all hypothetical. I don't know. I think we might be getting there.
I guess it's kind of similar to the situation with like Ryan Day in college, where the Ravens are one of the best teams in the regular season.
Yeah.
It's one of the best teams in the regular season, and then they just can't win those big games. They're getting outcoached in those big games. I think that the Ravens. I don't think that John Harbaugh gets fired this year. I don't think there's really any situation where he doesn't get fired this year.
Okay.
But if that happens, where the Steelers beat them and gets outcoached, I think going into next year, the storyline is John Harbaugh make or break, coaching for his job type of year. Like, he needs to show something. Yes, seats a little warm next year. I think he needs. Okay. He's been so established there. He's won a Super Bowl there before. I think that the seat has to get a little warm and the media has to be talking a little bit before that there's ever a situation when he just gets fired. He's not going to get fired out of nowhere. He's at least earned the respect of that organization enough where that's not going to happen.
We'll see. Maybe those conversations happen behind. But like we said, we both think the Ravens are going to win, and that's not even going to be a conversation.
Yeah.
Headed on to Sunday at 1 Eastern, we got the Broncos headed to Buffalo. Initial thoughts on that game?
I think that Buffalo wins that game. I think Josh Allen is going to have a very good play. I think he's going to play out of his mind. But unlike the Ravens Steelers, I think there's a situation in which the Broncos actually pull this game out. I think that the Broncos, the Broncos defense is absurd. Yeah, it's a very good defense.
Yeah. On the trenches on both sides of the ball, they're very good. O-line and D-line, they're very good. I don't like Sean Payton, but he's coached well. Bo Nix has outperformed expectations. But yeah, I agree. I think the Bills win. I don't know if there's much more that we need to really.
I mean, I'll leave off this game with this. The Broncos have won these playoff games by surprise before, where they have a quarterback that people are doubting a little bit, and they're the heavy underdog. They've pulled it out before with some magic, and I wouldn't doubt that Mile High magic for a second again. We'll see what happens. I can't hear you. Man, Topher was about to say something great there, and he just completely cut out. That's crazy. That's really funny, actually, because you could see in his face that he was like saying something with his heart. Like he was saying something that was gonna hype everyone up, get us ready to run through a brick wall, and then nothing. Just speaking, mouths moving, don't hear anything though. But yeah, Ohio State's going to win it all. I think that the Ravens probably. I think I'm going to bet on the Ravens to win the Super Bowl, to be honest. Oh, I'm not going to bet, but you know what I mean. Go Bucks. Oh, we got the logo in the corner now on this. This is cool.
I think I'm back. Am I back? Yeah, the logo being up there while we're recording is pretty. I normally edit it in, but it is pretty cool. All right, back to my take. I was cooking. I was cooking. I know the game you're referencing. Sorry, Trev. That Broncos team with Tim Tebow had had God on their side, like legit, like it was God came down onto the football field and was like, Demaryius Thomas, here, free pass to the end zone. I remember that game. Like, I pretty vividly remember that game. But yeah, it has happened before, but that was a true act of God, more likely than not.
Absolutely.
3:30 or 4:30 Eastern, we've got the Packers headed to Philly to face off with the Eagles. Jalen Hurts has been cleared of concussion protocol. I haven't seen any update on AJ Brown yet. I know he didn't practice yesterday. Thoughts for this game?
Honestly, this game's kind of like a coin flip in my mind. Like I could see this going either way as well. Packers, we've seen the flashes of how good of a team this can be. We've also seen some stuff happen with the Packers, but they've also battled a lot of injuries this year and had a lot of adversity this year. So I can see I think the Packers are at this moment in time better than their seed indicates.
I mean, they're the 7th seed,
and yeah, exactly. I think they like. I knew that they were the 7th seed, but when I was looking at the bracket and like thought about that, I'm like, the Packers are way better than a 7th seed. The Packers could legitimately make a run, and no one would be surprised. At the same time, I think the Eagles are a very good team. I mean, we've talked about this in length before. But the Eagles are a fantastic team, and then adding that like luxury piece that the running back is with Saquon just added another just bit of oomph to the offense. And I think that the Eagles are a very, very good team as well. I think that this is a matchup that can go either way, but I'm going to go with the Packers.
I don't think the Packers have a chance. I think they're dead in the water. I also just think the Eagles might be the best team in the NFC. Might. If I'm picking with my head, the Eagles are probably the team that I would say make the Super Bowl. If I'm picking with my head, I'll clarify that. Which I will not. My official prediction will not be made with my head. So, but the Eagles, I think the Eagles win, and I will be surprised if the Packers pull it out. The Sunday night game, we get Mike Evans versus Marshawn Lattimore Fight Week playoff edition as the Commanders head to Tampa Bay to face off against the fighting Baker Mayfields. Thoughts on this game?
Well, obviously I'm a Marshawn Lattimore fan. I mean, he's an Ohio State Buckeye, so I'm definitely on his side, and so is Scary Terry. But I can't always just root for my guys. I think that the Buccaneers just have enough swagger to just win at least one of those games. I mean, Baker Mayfield. It's hard to root against Baker Mayfield when it comes time for some to legitimately go out there and win a game. I don't want to root against Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield, he's gonna put it all out on the field, and I think that Mike Evans is also a fantastic wide receiver. I just think that the Buccaneers will at least win one playoff game.
And Bucky Irving?
Yeah, I mean, Bucky Irving, Baker Mayfield, Mike Evans all on the same team.
It's like, it's destiny. I think this is the game that's actually a coin flip. Of all of the games we've talked about before, I have no clue. I have no read on this one. I think it'll be the Buccaneers. Um, I think the playoff experience, reason they will. Um, but I would not be surprised if the Commanders pull it out because I think the Commanders are good. I don't think it's fluky. Um, but we'll see what happens with Jane Daniels and how they approach it. They did it right with bringing in a new head coach and GM in the same offseason. I will say that. They did that, and I think that was the right decision on their part.
Yeah.
Monday nights, we have the Vikings and Rams in Arizona for due to the wildfires. They will be playing Arizona, but those teams are squaring off. Um, what's your read on this game?
I mean, I can't really pick against the Vikings here. I think the Vikings are a contender for sure this year. The Rams have looked very shaky at times. And also, I mean, the wildfires like you talked about, that's something else coming into play that's affecting them near their hearts. I mean, some of them may have lost their homes for all we know. I mean, so I think that the Rams just it's hard to say that Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, some of these guys who have won a Super Bowl in recent memory, like don't have a shot. But I just don't see much of a shot here for the Rams, and I think that plus it's not even a home game for them. Like they if it was a home game, like a true home game, yeah, I could see the Rams having a little bit of a shot, but neutral field, I just don't see it.
This game's another coin flip, I think, and I think in the entirety of the game falls on Sam Darnold.
Yeah,
Like that is, if he plays like he did against the Lions, congratulations to the LA Rams. If he plays like he did the other 90% of the year, congratulations to the Minnesota Vikings. You're headed to the division.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they were 14-3. Like they were the first team in NFL history to have 14 wins and not win their division. Like this wasn't. We're not talking about like a 9-8 team, like 10-7, like something in that range. Like we're not talking about a team that Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold. If he's probably gonna finish like third quarterbacks on the MVP ballot.
Yeah.
Like probably third through fifth for quarterbacks. We'll get into that in a minute. I'd like to talk about that a little bit. But third through fifth in terms of quarterbacks, you can kind of there's three guys you can go any sort of way with it. But yeah, I have no clue. This one's another coin flip. I think the Rams win.
Yeah.
No, that's a lie. I think the Vikings win. But it's close.
That's
very,
fair.
very close. I think probably the closest game of the week.
Wow.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on NFL playoffs? Or at least wild card weekend?
Just excited to watch.
Do you want to give your Super Bowl prediction?
Yeah, absolutely. Like just the team I think is going to
win
it.
You can pick the two teams that are in the Super Bowl, and then your winner.
You know what? This is going to be very chalk, but if anyone has been watching since our NFL preseason predictions, I went not chalk for my picks for the playoffs.
49ers Jets?
Yeah, my AFC Championship game prediction was the Browns Jets.
I remembered that.
Yeah, so I'm honestly, give me the 1 seeds. Give me the Detroit Lions and the Kansas City Chiefs. And honestly, you know what? Team of Destiny this year. The Detroit Lions are your Super Bowl champions. Detroit's gonna be partying all night there, man. Yeah,
that'd be great.
Go. I mean, I think the Lions. I think that this is a team of destiny.
I called.
I mean, X's and O's, he's not even close to top 5. But at the head coach position, you're a CEO more than you are the ground. And Topher's cutting in and out again, but you guys can hear me. So at the head coach position, like Dan Campbell is, you're a CEO, right? You manage the guys under you, manage the company, you oversee all the operations, and your job is to build that big time culture, build a team that wants to win, build a team and bring them together. And Dan Campbell is better at that than anybody in the NFL. While a guy like Ben Johnson, obviously, is a way better X's and O's coach than Dan Campbell. Way better. But he's maybe not as good of a culture builder as Dan Campbell is. That's yet to be seen, obviously. But I think that Dan Campbell is a fantastic head coach, and I think that in terms of what he like with the structure the Lions have right now, where they have great X's and O's guys in Ben Johnson and what is it, Aaron Glenn? Yeah, I think Aaron Glenn. That's really all you need sometimes when you have they have like 2 fantastic guys at corner positions, and then on top of them is the culture builder, and that's the perfect trio right there. Because Dan Campbell doesn't need to worry too much about the offense or the defense. He needs to worry about bringing that team together, getting them fired up, and I mean, nobody's better in the NFL at that than Dan Campbell is. We're gonna say Topher's prediction for the Super Bowl is Broncos Rams, and Topher, as a former Broncos fan, is riding with the Broncos. We're gonna say.
I'm back.
Oh,
you can't even hear me.
On, so he's not back. Dullard. You can probably hear me saying all this too.
Yeah,
Dullard. Bro is celebrating that he's back, but it's not even back. Oh, and he's gone again. That's actually pretty funny. That's actually really funny.
I'm back.
You're actually back this time.
Would it be an episode of the Ball Talk Boys podcast if my internet or something didn't cut out?
It would not be. That's a tradition at this point.
Dan Campbell.
Oh, I gave a whole soliloquy on Dan Campbell and the Lions organization while you were gone.
I look forward to listening to it, but I think just the nerds don't like it because he doesn't call plays.
Pretty much.
I think that's it. But I think he is the Detroit Lions, and he is, if not the singular reason, the majority of the reason they are where they are. He's built that culture from the bottom up. Like he fully built that culture. And I think that almost to me means more than the X's and O's, that he's been able to do that.
Well, yeah, I mean, in the whole speech I was giving to the audience, I pretty much said that when you have 2 coordinators who are great at the X's and O's, like Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn are. Aaron Glenn's the defense coordinator there, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, yeah. So when you have 2 coaches who are good at X's and O's like that, and you have a culture builder at the top who's like the CEO, right? He doesn't have to do like all like the dirty work there, but his job is to unite everyone, get them on the same page, get them fired up. That's the best scenario, I think, for an NFL team, is to have that sort of trifecta going on. And I think Dan Campbell, when it comes to being a culture builder and it comes to getting guys fired up, is the best coach in the NFL with that stuff.
And they've built like the roster that embodies what he was looking for. Gritty, right. Bite your kneecaps off on their way back up, do it for each other, like all of these things. Like, it's stuff that he's like built, and we'll see what happens once one or both of the coordinators leave in this cycle of head coaching, and we'll talk more about the head coaching carousel in a future episode, but or as they get hired, probably we'll talk about it. But if they do it again, I'm not saying they're gonna go. Well, they go this year 15-2, because they lost to the Buccaneers and they lost to the Bills. But if they go but if next year again they lose both their coordinators and they go 13-4 and they win the NFC North, like sustainability. That's all it is. And we're trying to see if somebody can do it at the NFL level through culture building, which I like I said, I almost believe in more than what happens in the X's and O's. Because that's I think how you build like the sustainability part of it. So your pick's the Lions.
Yeah.
Over the Chiefs.
Yes.
I'm picking, my official prediction is Bills Lions. And the winner, you might ask, America. Who cares? Like I think America wins then, because that might be the most like watched Super Bowl in like recent history, because it's America's teams. I think those two are America's teams.
Those are two of the most likable teams in the NFL. So,
with like the most likable guys in the NFL, like on those teams. But that's my prediction. I think the Bills win now. In that. But like I said, if I'm picking with my head, it's probably like Eagles Chiefs. But I'm not counting that as my prediction. But that like, who cares? That's chalk. Like I tweeted it the other day, like give me Bills Lions, please. But like, I'm not gonna say give me Chiefs Eagles, please. Like the heck, I'm gonna watch, but like I'm gonna hate watch the entire time and hope the Eagles win. So.
Right.
Oh, MVP. Let's talk about that a little bit. If you had to give your ballot 5-1 of NFL MVP, what do you think that would look like?
So, like, I give a first place, second place, third place, fourth place, fifth place vote?
Yeah.
If I was voting right now, I'd put Josh Allen 1. I'd put Lamar Jackson 2. I would put Sam Darnold at 3.
Mm-hmm.
At 4, I would put Saquon Barkley. And at 5, I'd put Jameis Winston.
All right, I respect it. Not sure if there's a games played requirement, but that's
yeah, that's fair. Fifth, I go Herbert.
I think fifth, I go. We have like the same. We have essentially the same, but I think probably fifth for me winds up being Baker.
That's also fair.
And I think but we have the same like structure at the top. I think the third to fifth quarterback winds up being like Darnold, Baker, and then Burrow. Like I know they didn't make the playoffs.
Oh, Burrow! I forgot about Burrow.
Like,
I would put Burrow.
But he has to get knocked down a run because they didn't make the playoffs.
Right.
Like he probably had the best statistical year. I think he definitely had the best statistical year, but like they didn't make the playoffs, so he obviously has to get knocked down a peg and a rung for that. I also have the like opinion that I would vote for. I'm putting Josh Allen over Lamar, but I would put Lamar over Josh Allen on my Offensive Player of the Year ballot.
That's fair. Yeah.
I don't think either of them will win it. I think Jamar Chase will win Offensive Player of the Year. But that would be my order. We have the same order. I think Josh Allen ultimately, just because they won more, and I think he was more impactful on their winning in totality than Lamar was. Because Lamar also had Derrick Henry and probably a better defense than they did. Offensive Player of the Year, do you have a thought on who wins that one?
Jamar Chase is winning Offensive Player. Yeah. If it's not a quarterback, it's going to be Jamar Chase.
And I think it's Jamar, and then I think it's Saquon on the list of that. And I think the only reason Saquon, like, he's got a 2,000-yard rushing year, I think the only reason, unfortunately, is just because he didn't break the record, which was probably the right choice not to play Week 18. But, like, I think in the pantheon of football, we will wind up viewing Jamar Chase's season in a higher regard than we do Saquon Barkley's.
I agree.
He won the triple crown. 1,700 receiving yards and like 17 touchdowns. It was like a completely absurd year. But yeah, I don't have anything else. Anything else you had on your mind? We kind of talked college sports earlier. I don't think there was anything else we really needed to hit from that.
Yeah, I think we kind of covered all our bases there.
Any final thoughts or not really?
Final thoughts.
Go Bucks.
If you watch this point and you're not subscribe, like, leave comments. Let us know you made it to this point. Comment the word birds. Just say birds in the comments if you made it to this point.
I agree. Go Birds.
But yeah, go Bucks. That's about it.
2025 is going to be a big year from BTB. I know we've kind of talked about little things that we wanted to do. We'll hopefully be attending more games in person over the next. Definitely, we'll be attending more games in person over the next year, and maybe we'll record. We already talked about some of the games we might try and go to, whether it's college football games, maybe an NFL game,
maybe the Indy 500. Yeah,
maybe Derrick Rose's jersey retirement, whenever that winds up happening. I don't care.
It's fair.
I'd pay whatever it costs.
I mean, yeah, it's gonna be a couple hundo for sure.
Oh yeah, no, I'd pay whatever it costs. That'd be our child. Like I remember, Derrick Rose the boy of the week. We don't have to talk a ton about him, but but like the videos of his like ceremony, like I like watched every single video of that. Derrick Rose as a kid growing up in Chicago, though I'm not a Chicago sports fan, like I vividly remember him tearing his ACL against the Sixers in the playoffs. Like though we would have been what 9 and 10, 10 and 11,
something like that. Yeah,
that would have been 2011.
Yes.
Because I think LeBron won MVP in 2012, 2013. Yeah, Derrick Rose, was the Illinois sports for those years. And I will always remember Derrick Rose, and I will pay whatever it costs. If it's within reason, obviously, to get into, I'm not going to pay $1,000. That's obviously too much. But I'd pay $200.
I'd pay $200, yeah. And going to Derrick Rose, this is gonna make me sound old, but I remember listening to the game broadcast on the radio, when Derrick Rose tore his ACL, and it was that was absolutely crazy. But yeah, I mean.
Yeah, my memory of it is either watching the game or seeing the Sports Center immediately after or the next morning. Because it was at the very end of that game in a decisive Bulls win.
Yeah.
Yeah, heartbreaking. Yeah, big year. We're running a marathon this year. I started looking into training plans. I'll have to send over to you what I found to be better. Are you doing it all yourself?
Only training plan I need, Topher, is right up here.
See, we can talk about it more out there, but yeah, we're doing a marathon this year, and it'll be gonna be better than 24, kid.
Only up. Gotta be better. Gotta be better.
We're gonna hopefully get back into the routine of every week. We just got to figure out, schedules and stuff like that, but we'll be better about it. Thank you for your continued support. Thank you for a great 2024. Here's to a great 2025. Go Birds.